Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ezinne Ajah. If you're getting to know me for the first time, welcome back to my channel. I am a Nigerian YouTuber based in Abuja. So on this video, we have a very educative topic to talk about. We have so many juicy things to talk about. So if you want to be educated on things concerning law, I will advise you to just not click out and keep watching because I have someone with me here that will have to put us through on things that we don't know about law.
J5 on the Weezer still.
So I will, of course, want him to introduce himself so that we can get to know him better. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good day, viewers. My name is A. Ekuma. I'm a lawyer in private practice. I've been practicing for a long time, more than 2 decades now.
Right. I have very important questions to ask you, sir. Thank you so much for having me here. And I want to ask you, what do you do immediately you get arrested? Like as a Nigerian, or probably maybe elsewhere, but here now we are in Nigeria. Of course, we have to be asking for people here in Nigeria. What is the first thing, or what are the first things to do once you get arrested?
Well, arrest on its own doesn't mean death sentence. You may be invited for interrogation by the agency that is involved in the offense allegedly committed. And in Nigeria, we have a number of them. You have the police, you have the customs, you have the immigration, civil defense, name them. If you are arrested, according to your question, that means there is a perceived offense you may have committed. At that point, it is not convicted, you are not yet, it's not proved yet. So the arrest on its own requires you to come to a particular place, either the police station or the EFCC, as we say in Nigeria. That is Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. They take you there for interrogation. The first thing you do if you are arrested is to seek the services of a lawyer,
Okay.
services of a legal practitioner. If you are not disposed to call in a lawyer, call somebody that will call a lawyer for you. And of course, they will allow you make a contact to your people by taking you to so. You ask them, what have I done? Where are you taking me to? They will do whatever they want to do to intimidate you. Stand your ground, be polite, be civil, so that you don't get injured. It is somebody who is alive that seeks for his right. So at that point, you're required to be calm, level-headed, and intelligently take it. But the first step to take is get a lawyer. Let the lawyer be involved, and then you hear the charge against you. You take it up from there.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much, sir.
Yep.
And here, this is a norm in Nigeria. Honestly speaking, a whole lot of people do not even know. Most times, people fall out with their landlords because they don't know their rights, or landlords, tenants have issues and disagreements. Because I believe here, probably the landlord doesn't even know their rights, or tenants doesn't know their rights. But in most cases, the tenants, because I have had a whole lot of, stories in regards to this particular question here. What are the rights of a tenant in Nigeria?
Every tenancy in Nigeria is regulated by the Recovery of Premises Act. It is localized in the sense that every state has its own Recovery of Premises Act.
Oh,
And you don't actually have a National Recovery of Premises Act. Like in the case of Abuja, we say Recovery of Premises Act under laws of the Federation of Nigeria, as we say 1990, then FCT, Abuja. In the case of landlords and tenants, it is spelled out between them. They will agree on their own terms. We call it tenancy agreement. Of course, those agreements cannot contravene the law of morality, the public policy law, the public security law. These are the issues, whatever law you are doing, will not be contrary to these laws I have mentioned. So if you agree with your landlord that instead of paying rent, you'll be bringing human heads, that agreement, of course, is unlawful and against public policy and against public morality and against public security. Of course, that your agreement with the landlord will be null and void to the extent of the inconsistency of the areas it offended. But what makes it tenancy is that you have agreed to lease it or take it or occupy it. There are times you rent a place, you don't occupy it yourself. Another person may occupy it. It is the landlord's duty to know who leased out his property or her property. And then when he wants to recover it, there are certain requirements in law he's supposed to do. Of course, I advise again, get the service of a lawyer who will tell you what to do if you want to recover a leased or demised property. The issue of tenancy is very technical because it is technical in the sense that 1 hour less than the stipulated time in the Recovery of Premises Act makes such invalid. It's either invalid notice or invalid step, and of course, you can't take law into your hand. In Nigerian tenancy, you must abide by the law. Of course, we mentioned the law when there are issues for determination, there is a dispute to settle. If two of you agree on something and it hasn't become a problem, no 30-year will hear it. It becomes a problem when there is a conflict. In law, we say issues are joined. The tenant is saying, I have this right. The landlord says, no, you don't have it. Who determines who has what right? Is the court. So it is the jurisdiction of a court in the area that will determine who has what right. So when the time frame is over, if it is for 1 year certain, as we say in law, look, I'm going to rent your house for 1 year. After 1 year, I'm done. At the end of the 1 year, the landlord cannot come in and eject you. He still has to go to court to obtain what we call statutory notice, because there is a definite time this tenancy has to expire. And when it expires, you go to court and collect, or through your lawyer, you obtain what we call statutory notice that will not be less than 7 days to notify the occupant, hey, the tenancy is up, you are good to go. If he doesn't go after the statutory tenancy notice has been issued and served on him, you approach the court to obtain summons. Of course, through a lawyer. The lawyer will summon him to court to come and tell the court why he or she is refusing to deliver up possession of the demised premises. So it is the court that will assume jurisdiction to determine whether it is true there was tenancy, whether it is true there is a relationship of landlord and tenant, whether it is true it has inured, or as we said in lay language, expired. So was there a rent issue or was there no rent issue? These are the issues the court in question will determine, and then will give judgment one way or the other. The successful litigant will go home happy. If the landlord prove his case against the tenant, of course, the court will give judgment in favor of the landlord. And it doesn't end there. If you end a judgment and the judgment is in your favor and the person doesn't vacate, you don't say, look, I'm going to reject him by force. That is self-help. The law frowns at that. You are required to come and apply for execution of your judgment. And the court will use the sheriff of the court to levy execution on the property and make sure the landlord has a vacant possession. You deliver back the possession to the landlord. Because
That's nice. But here, I have another thing to add to this, because I have had situations like this. Like, some landlords feel they have the right to just barge into you because they are the landlord, they knock, and they have the right to just enter, and because it's their house. I don't know. When you are in that situation as a tenant, what do you do? Do you have the right to tell your landlord to hold on outside or still welcome him inside? I don't know if you understand what I mean, because
I do. When your tenancy has expired and you are in court, you become a tenant of the court. We call it tenant at sufferance or tenant at will of the court.
okay.
So until he has the execution levied on your house, the landlord doesn't have automatic right to enter your premises. If he thinks that he is the owner of the property, remind him that you are the owner of the property as you are still a subsisting tenant until possession is delivered. And so, if he does that, we always have a locus classicus in law where the court frowns at self-help. It's a common maxim in law that he who comes to equity comes with a clean hand. If you have soiled your hand by taking the laws into your hand, you don't come back to the same law you offended to say, okay, I want to recover my house from this tenant. I've been there, and maybe you use padlock or you use bouncers or you use any means and say the guy or the woman would not have access. If the man, the landlord or the landlady is that mad, because it's madness, what you do, you make an entry in the police station. They will arrest him because until the court gives an order, nobody has right to take laws into his hands. Because if you do now, for instance, you want to go and enforce the ejection on your own, and the occupant is stronger than you are and beats you up and you die, you leave tenancy and be discussing murder case. So for the purposes of equity and fairness, we advise and condemn that people should not be taking laws into their hands.